We have one example about the modularity, which is how to calculate the median. And we can make for every step as a module. For example, this module 1, module 2, and module 3. Now let's learn another concept in object-oriented. We call it abstraction. So what is abstraction? Abstraction means essential features are relative to the context in which the object is being used. So, for example, I would like to make an object about vehicle. So we know vehicle, yeah, it can be anything like maybe we have sedan or truck is also vehicle. SUV is also vehicle. Bus is also vehicle. So everything with tire, we can say, yeah, they are vehicle. So we have the essential feature, which is tire. Or maybe we can say, okay, the vehicle have handle. And yeah, so on and so on. So we can just mention the essential features for the object. For example, this object student. The object students will have the essential features such as name, student ID. So we have these essential features, and usually we mention this as the abstract class. And for this abstract class, there will be abstract method. So every of this class may have the properties from the abstract class. The abstract class will have abstract method, and sometimes we can say it as interface. We call this is abstract data type. So the abstraction is to distill a system to its most fundamental part. Applying the abstraction paradigm to the design of data structure gives rise to the abstract data types, or we call it ADT. So we will learn a lot of ADT in this lecture. So ADT is a model of data structure that specifies the type of data store, the operations supported on them, and the type of parameter of you. An ADT specifies what each operation does, but not how it does. So it just explains about what, but not about how. So the collective set of behaviors supported by an ADT is its public interface. I will not explain the public interface. I will just explain about ADT, how we can make the ADT. So when we deal with the abstraction, actually, there's also another concept, we call it inheritance. So this is an abstraction using a base class. A base class, we call also the same like this one. We can say the vehicle is a base class, or sometimes we call it the abstract class. When we do the inheritance, means it is a mechanism for modular and hierarchical organization. And this allows a new class to be defined based upon an existing class as the starting point. So the existing class is typically described as the base class, or sometimes we call it parent class, or we call it super class. While the newly defined class is known as the subclass or child class. Okay, so please pay attention on this keyword. So there are two ways in which a subclass can be differentiate itself from its superclass. So the keyword will be the subclass and superclass. A subclass may specialize an existing behavior by providing a new implementation that operates an existing method. And a subclass may also extend its superclass by providing a brand new method. So we will learn these two things from example. So one example in Python about the inheritance is the exception. When you do the exception, there is a base exception, and then there is another detailed exception. For example, we can exit from the system, or we can do the interruption on the keyboard. So the exception can have many kind of errors. For example, value error, arithmetic error, lookup error. So in the arithmetic error, there can be another class. For example, zero division error, and so on. So this kind of hierarchy in Python, they build it using the inheritance. Now let's see with example. We have student. So this is a student class. This is the data member. Okay. And this is the method. So we have the student name, student city, and score equals to 0. And then we have the methods get student name, get student city, get student score, set student score. So we already did this one last time. Now, in the student, we can make a new class which is graduate student. So let's say the student means just they have name. Graduate student, they have one. Okay. So the properties, they have the similar properties, which is their name. And also the student live in a city. So they share the same property. But the graduate student may have different kind of study. For example, the maximum credit that the graduate student should take is 30 credit. It means, the properties is different with the common student. So you can see these are the methods that the student have, and this is the data member that the student have. But this is the data member and the method that only graduate student. So you can see here with the def init. What is def init? It is the constructor. And then we will do again this one, constructor. And then we will learn about the super. Here we have super. So this super means we want to access the super class. So we want to access the super class and construct based on the super class. So how can we know this super class? So we need to call the superclass using the class name in this parenthesis. So we will call this superclass in this class. So let's see. I will do this one. Okay, I think it's similar with this one. So the student class have the constructor. We have two parameters, which is student name and student city, and we have additional data, which is score. And then we have 1, 2, 3 get method, and then we have one set method. So the get method, we want to get the data. Let's say this is the data from the student name. This is the data of student city, and this is the data of the score. We can set the student score, or we can update the student score. Okay, let me run this. Now, I would like to make a new class, which is graduate student. So this graduate student is a new class, and it inherit. We call it, this is inherit from the student. So we have the student name, we have student city, and then we can have the maximum credit. So I will run this. Now, let's try to figure out about the object. Let's say I'm going to make S1 and S2. So S1, let's say this is an object of student. And then I would like to make, let's say, Park, and then Park live in Yongin. And then I have another student, let's say student 2. So the student name is, for example, Lee, and then he lives in Seoul. In this case, we know that the S1 get student name, so his name is Park. And S2, if I want to get the student name, his name is Lee. Okay, we know about this one. Now let's say there is one new student. Okay, so there is one new student, and yeah, the student name is Yahya, and he is a graduate student. So I will make a new object, which is G1. G1 is a graduate student, and his name is Yahya, and he lives in Yongin. Okay, you can put your name, up to you. Now, in graduate student class, do you see any get student name? There is no get student name. Do you see any get student city? You don't see any get student city. So if I want to get the name, I can just call get student name, and we can get the name. So how this works? First, we call this is the inheritance. The graduate student inherit all the properties from the student class. So the student class have the data members, student name, student city, and score. And also have methods get student name, get student city, get student score. So if I call again G1 get student score, then you will get Q. And then let's say G1 is the object of graduate student. I want to set the student score. Let's say the student score, we know that the score always between 0 until 100. Then all students will have almost similar scores. Wait. And then I can just get the G1, get student score. Then I get 80, like this one. There is one additional property in the graduate student, which is get maximum grade. Okay. Now, I would like to know what is the maximum credit in the graduate student. So I can access the maximum credit and I will get 30. Why 30? Because here we want to get the maximum credit and the maximum credit equals to 30 by the Debbie. Question is, if I am a student 1, can I get the maximum credit? If I'm a student 1, so the student 1 is part. And S1 is the object from student. If the graduate student can get all the properties from student, can the student get all the properties from the graduate student? Is it possible? So you can check S1, I would like to get the maximum credit. Then it is error. Why error? The inheritance means this is the error. The graduate student inherit all the properties in the superclass. We call it the superclass. And we call this is the subclass. So we call this is the superclass. And we call this is subclass. So there can be another kind of subclass. For example, student exchange. So you can make another class, student exchange, and then it will inherit the student because the student will have name, will have the address, and also will have score. But the difference between the student is the number of credits that the student exchange can get. Okay. So that's the inheritance. So I give you this example. If you are a graduate student, so you can get the student name, you can get the student CD, you can get the maximum credit. But if you are a student, it means you make an object from the student. You can get the student name, you can get the student CD, but when you want to access the maximum credit, it is not allowed because the maximum credit just belong to the graduate student. Okay. So let me give you another example. So in some examples in the internet, they also make a good example about the abstraction.
So in the abstraction, sometimes we can use the ABC. So I'm going to teach you about the abstraction now. The previous week is about inheritance. So now it is about the abstraction. ABC means abstract base class. So this is ABC. So I'm going to import ABC, an abstract based method. Okay. And I'm going to make it as the ABC. Now, I would like to make a class of vehicle. So I declare the vehicle as the abstract base class. We know that every vehicle will have tires. Then I will just define tires self, because I don't know. If it is truck, then maybe the number of tires, there are 12, or maybe there are 8, or some trucks have 4 tires. If it is sedan, they have 4 tires. If it is bus, maybe they have 6 tires, 8 tires, or 4 tires. So the number of tires can be different according to the vehicle type. Then I can just mention path. I don't specify in the abstract base class. And usually when we do with this abstract base class, we need to define that this is the abstract method. So I will let you know why we need to make this abstract method. So we make the abstract base class. Now, based the example that I mentioned to you before, we have truck, we have sedan, we have SUV. So I can make a class, and the class name is truck. And the truck will inherit the properties from the abstract base class. It means we use the same idea from the inheritance. We call the vehicle. Now, I just have only one method, which is tire. It means I will define the tires. Let's say I'm just going to print it. I have 8 tires, for example. Okay, so the class truck have 8 tires. Now, I would like to define another class. The class is sedan, and it also inherits from the vehicle. And I would like to define also the tires. And I would like to print, I have 4 tires. And then I have another vehicle, which is SUV. And the SUV is also inherit from the vehicle. And I will have the tires. Print, I have, let's say, 4 big tires. So every vehicle, let's say this is truck, sedan, and SUV, will have the tires. Tires, tires. But we need to define what is the property for every of the class. Okay. So if you run this, now, let's say I'm having a new truck. T1 is a truck. So I want to know how many tires the truck has. Okay, I have 8 tires. Now, I would like to have another, let's say the sedan. And then I would like to call the tires. So sedan have 4 tires. Let's say I'm making a new object S2 SUV, and then I want to know the tires. So SUV has 4 big tires. Okay, that's it. It means now for every of this class they will specify the detail. Now the question is, if I have a new class, let's say I have motorcycle. Okay, so motorcycle, let's say this is also a vehicle, but yeah, because vehicle is any kind of transportation with engine. So I'm going to make this class, but I do not want to specify the tire. I want to make a new class which is different from the class that I already defined in the abstract class. So I'm just making the class engine. Let's say I have a small engine. So I will run this, no error. Okay. There is no errors in this case. I inherit from a vehicle, and then I have a new class engine. Let me make a new object, M1. So M1 will be a motorcycle, and then there's error. What is the error? It mentioned that cannot instantiate abstract class motorcycle with abstract method types. What does it mean? In the vehicle, we have one abstract method. So this abstract method should be in every of the class. So it means every, let's say, truck, every sedan, every SUV, including also the motorcycles, should have method type. So if you don't specify the tire, then it is. So that's the meaning by the abstract method. Once you define this one, so every of the subclass should have the same method, and you need to define what is the method implementation. So in this case, if you want to define engine, no problem. But you need to still define the tires. Print, I have 2 tires. Then I can create the motorcycle. Okay, so that's the meaning by the abstract class. Whenever we have the abstract class and when we have the abstract methods, so all the methods should be defined again in this class for the implementation. So here I have the tires. So it can show that I have 2 tires. And then let's say I want to know the engine, then it shows I have a small engine. Okay. Okay, until now, any questions? Okay, then yeah, please try to review it about this abstract class and inheritance, because I think most of the class after this it will be dealing with the abstract this class. Encapsulation. So what is the meaning by encapsulation? Encapsulation is the process of binding both attributes and methods together within a class. Through encapsulation, the internal details of a class can be hidden from outside. And the class has methods that provide user interface by which the service provided by the class may be used. So some concept in the encapsulation, we can have the access of the modifiers, for example, default, public, private, and protected. So the class can be regarded as class or interface. So let me make a new class. Okay, so I will make a class of diary. In this class, as you can see, we have the constructor, and then we have one parameter. And then, yeah, the title is the title. And then I think you already know, whenever we have this underbar, it indicates this is a private. Private means you cannot directly access it. Even though later you can access it, but you cannot immediately. But title is public. So you can access the data. Okay. So in Python, they try to distinguish this between the common variable without underbar and the variable with underbar. So if it is with underbar, this is private. And whenever we want to access this one, we should access it from the method. It also works with the method. When you have this underbar, means this is the private method. Now, let's see. I have this diary. Okay, I explain here. So the add entry is a public method. The last entry is a private method. So one should not call this method from outside the class. So if you have another class, you cannot access this one. So you can just access it from this. But I will not explain the other class. Yeah. The title is public. And entry, oh sorry, this is mistaken. Entries is private. So this is a link. Now, let's say I can just say that, yeah, this is a diary. Of course, you do not want other people to look in your private diary. But I want to make it as a class. Then let's say I make it, this is my diary. So I will create my diary, and the title is, it is private. Let's say in my diary, I want to add one entry. I win a big prize, for example. So it is private. So I just want to make my own personal diary. I win a big prize, and then yeah, I want to get, what is the title? Okay, let's say my diary dot title. Sorry. Okay, I can get the title of this diary. It is private. But can I get the entries? So what is the meaning by add entry? Add entry, it is to include this new argument into the list. So do you know append? Append means you will add a new value to a list. Or maybe I have not explained about append, but some of you already did on the group with the append. Let's say I have 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I would like to append. So if you know, A is 1, 2, 3. So I want to append 5, for example. Then after I append 5, if I again check what is A, then 5 will be added into the list. Okay. Again, if I append 10, so if I print A, then again 10 will be added into the list. So if I append to this entry, then it will be added into this list. Now, I want to know the entries. If you press the tab, you can see only 2. The first is add entry, which is a function, and the other is title, which is an instance. But you cannot see entry because it is private. You cannot see last entries because it is private. Okay. So it is different when you make the student. Okay. When it is S1, when you press the tab, oh, so if you G1, when you press tab, okay, when you press the tab, you will see all the functions. Okay. All the functions are public because we don't put any underbar. All the data members are public, so you can see it. So if you put this underbar, if you put this underbar, it becomes private. Okay. So if you want to access this one, of course, you need to, yeah, if you are the creator of this class, of course, you can access it. Entry. Oh, sorry, this is not entry. So if you are the creator of this class, of course, you can access it, but it is not for public. It is only for you who know the class and for you who create this class, because you know what is the data member name. So this kind of details will be encapsulated. So we call it, this is encapsulated. Only the class can access this method. Only this class can access this data. So yeah, I just mentioned to you, if you want to access the private data and the private method, okay, so you can have only the name when you know what's the name, and you can access the method when you know the method, but it is not for public. Now let's say I have a new method. So I make a new method here. Let me just put everything here. So I will do this one, and then again I will create my own diary. Let me just have this one again. Okay. My diary. It is private. Okay. And then I will make my diary, and then I will do the add entry, and then I will just I win a big prize again, and then let's say I have another diary, add entry. I failed my exam, for example. Okay, so it means I have two entries. So now let's try to check with the check entry. So I want to check I want to check my diary. So I want to check my diary, and I want to know the title of my diary. Then, yeah, only this method, yeah, can return the value. So this is the last entry. What is last entry? This is the method last entry. And then I would like to get the -1. Do you know -1? If we can have this A index 0 means this is 1, index in the location 1. But if A -1, this is the last value. So I want to get the last value. The last value is 10. So I would like to get the last value. I want to get the -1. Then first I will get I fill my exam, and then I would like to put with the title. The title is it is private plus the last entry, which is I fill my exam. So this is the okay. I need to put the space actually. It is private. I fill my exam. Okay. So there is another concept in the uh, object oriented. We call it iteration. So in the iteration, it is important to design of the data structures, and we are going to make it as a kind of loop. And we want to go to the next until it stops. So until the end of a list or until the end of the object. So in Python, if you know range, range is a class. And this class have three kind of parameters. So we learned before. The first is the starting, the second is the stopping, and the last is the step. So if step equals to 0, then step cannot be 0, because step should be at this one. Okay? Step should be at this one. So if you have no definition, step will be 1. So if stop is known, then yeah, the start is 0 and the stop will be stop. And then this is how to measure the length. And then the start will be the start and the step will be the step. So we can know the length and then we can get the item. The get item means we will do the loop for every of the k item. So it means if k is less than 0, yeah, we want to convert the negative index. If k is higher than 0 until the length, then it is index of 2. So this is how to make the range method. I think you still remember when we do the range. Range for I in range 5. So print I means we will do this number. If we have 5, 10, so we will print 5 until 9. If we do with step 2, then we will do every 2 steps. So Python create this class for creating this iteration. Okay, let me stop here. Let's have a break. I will continue after the break.